The reaction. Been married almost 12 years. We have 4 kids together. My wife married at 19, me at 24. I caught her having an emotional affair last week with a 26-year-old guy she met at a nightclub on a girls' night out. He gave her his number and she followed up on it. It lasted 2 weeks. A week into it, he kissed her goodnight as she was leaving from a friend's house. The kiss freaked her out, she tells me, but the friendship continued. They texted 600+ times in this 2 weeks. The night she went clubbing and met him, I became very jealous. I normally just fall asleep no problem. I even waited up for her to come home. When she arrived, she was surprised to see up and I told her about how I was feeling. She told me I had nothing to worry, that she was married and I was her man, and so on. I continued to feel an insecure tension mounting and a week later began looking around on her computer. I found a site she had signed up for 2 months earlier. She had posted 6 nice pictures of herself. 1 bikini, a couple black dress, stuff like this. Guys would then rate her. While I really didn't get too worked up over this, it just confirmed what I was feeling from her and showed me that she was having the need to get outside affirmation for herself. I confronted her about this, told her I didn't like it, asked her if anything was up. She got defensive about the site and then deleted her account. She also told me nothing was up again. The next day I installed a keylogger on her computer and that night I found what I was looking for. Saw that she had changed her wireless account, email, and Facebook account passwords to another guy's name. Then I found 1 email from a guy with that name. I confronted her with much more pressure about the situation and she finally came clean. I asked her many details trying to put together a story. Some of it didn't seem to make sense, but at least I knew something was up. She told me that they had only kissed and that they were only talking 2 to 3 times a week and maybe texting 2 to 3 times a day. We talked. I asked her to stop making contact with him immediately, told her I wanted to start marriage counseling, and asked her to change the passwords. The next day all of the passwords were changed back to the previous ones. Now I know all of her passwords, but I never monitored anything that she did before this. I could get into all of the account except for the wireless account. The next night I began to really be bothered by this and confronted her about it. She told me that she was telling the truth and that I didn't need to look and she would not give me the new password. I looked again and again on her laptop and then realized that she had changed the wireless one on a different computer. So, I got on there, acting like I was ready to pull up the password. She didn't know what I could do, and then made a big deal that she was still talking to him. Sure enough, she was. I really got upset this time and felt much more hurt. She kept saying that they were only talking about her and I and our marriage, that it was no big deal. We talked all night. I took the next day off work and spent the entire day with her. This was also her birthday. That night I got a babysitter and we went out on a date. The following evening, we got another babysitter and went out again. But then my instinct started telling me something. I broke down emotionally on the way home in the car and she comforted me, telling me that all was okay. That night in bed I asked her why she had not changed the wireless account password back and she tried to tell me that she did. I lied to her and told her that I wouldn't be able to see the current activity anyway, that it would not be available until the next month anyway. So, we went through the process and reset the password. When I logged in, I was shocked to see that she had texted him the day before 5 to 6 times and he back to her as many. Then realized that she did this the only time I was not with her the entire day. When I went out to get my hair cut, she again tried to tell me that he was just asking if everything was all right. We talked a long time. She told me that she had lost the passion for me in our relationship, that the love was there but the fire was not. Wow, I was very emotional and decided to wait a day or 2 or however long it took for me to settle down emotionally. 2 days later told her that she would have to either give me a 6-month commitment where we would try and fix this or that I was leaving. She was very indecisive and told me she didn't know. So, I decided to leave. I was going to put the kids to bed that night and began sleeping somewhere else. All afternoon and evening she were a totally different person, staring at me with puppy dog eyes and looking sad. That night the kids would not fall asleep until late. I was exhausted and ended up staying at the house. I slept in our bed. I was almost asleep and looked and she had been staring at me the whole time. She then asked me if she could give me a hug. The hug turned into the best bonding ever, like our first 2 years of marriage. The past few years it was pretty lame most of the time. The middle of the night she woke me up for more and again in the morning. She tells me that as soon as she realized what she was going to lose, that something opened up in her. In the experience of everyone here, is this something that is going to continue? Is my story something that happens and then has a happy ending? The dishonesty really bothered me, but my wife has always had a problem with this. She is going to begin seeing a psychologist and we are both going to do marriage counseling as well. I hear the saying, once a cheater, always a cheater. Is this BS or does it hold a lot of truth? So here I am almost 1 a.m. Been lying in bed tonight for over 3 hours and no chance of sleeping. My insecurities are running at an all-time high. I wonder if she is still cheating or going to cheat again. I wonder about her true feelings for me. Then I wonder if I have it in me to go through this very long. The anxiety of it all weighs almost too heavy. I see how the aftershocks of something like this can finish off a marriage. She is motivated out of fear and guilt. Does this equate to her passion coming back? No, I can handle all of this and move on, but my problem is I am insecure with the future. I don't know her true feelings for me. I don't know her true feelings from this past 2-week deal. Will there be more? My only option other than stay here and go through this is to move out and begin focusing on what she has done and squash the feelings for her out of me. I never imagined that this would be possible with us. I am a few more days into this. What I hoped would be a little more peace and solace is just more insecurity, grief, and anxiety. I am insecure with her feelings towards me. Even though she tells me she realized that she loves me, I have a hard time believing this even though it is what I want to believe. I am insecure with the whole fact of her having it with me, and I am insecure with trusting what she says about anything is true. I still have difficulty falling asleep at night. I lay there going over scenarios that she told me in my head, finding small inconsistencies. Wife has told me 2 versions of this part of the story. 1. After I kissed him, I felt extremely guilty and wanted to just come clean to you. I tried to figure out how I was going to tell you. I was driving me mad. Fact here is that her communications went way up after this. 2. She admitted to me that her feelings for this guy were stronger than what she let on. The whole affair that she had with this guy lasted like 17 days. Unless the clock is still ticking. I am only 4 days on the other side of it right now. Being that it is so fresh, can I still trust my insecure feelings 100%, or do I need to be careful with them, seeing that they could be just aftershocks of all we went through? I am going to buy a voice recorder today and leave it in my house. Her and friend are going to be doing a lot of cooking tonight together. This friend also went out with her the night it all started. I am certain that I will hear what I need to know by tonight. Is there a time that I should stop policing her and just trust her myself? This is not easy by any means. I have always been a strong, stable person emotionally. The past week I have been a roller coaster, going from one extreme to the other throughout each day. 2 hours ago, I would have told you I was done. Now I feel better about everything. So, after a month, will things begin to level off a bit? For the past couple years, I point out to her the lack of motivation that she has. I ask her if there is anything that I could do for her, or if there is anything that she wants to do. I ask if there is anything I do that she doesn't like. She always responds that I do everything right. There is nothing special that she wants to do, that she doesn't have fantasies, and so on. I have given her long massages, oil, candles, music, scents, you name it, and she doesn't get into it. Whenever it starts to get any little bit physical, she just stiffens up. When we do sleep together, I initiate, always. It usually isn't easy. On a good month we have bonding 2 times a week, on a bad month 2 times a month. I would do it every day or every other day, no problem, but she would never be game for that. She always conveniently goes to sleep while I'm brushing my teeth or putting the kids to bed. I am not overweight or stink or anything like this either. When we are alone and in public, a lot of times she is so tense. It feels to me like she is embarrassed to be out with me. She will always look around, avoiding looking me in the eyes. She is afraid to connect with me, afraid to get intimate emotionally. Where do I go from here to break through all of this? My wife is a very physical woman, but not with me. In my eyes, no, we are evenly matched. I am in good shape. I have dated a lot of women. I am confident, or was. We are a good couple. In her eyes is what matters here. I'm feeling like the grass may seem much greener. I tend to be the one that takes care of the family. I always have been. I remind her of the kids' doctor's apps, the school activities. I do well over 50% of the cleaning here, and much more cooking than she does. I also work 50+ hours a week. She just stays home. She is a bit depressive, always has been. She is a kid emotionally. So many times it is easier to go around a problem with her than to dig into it. The kids make a mess in the kitchen that has obviously been there for hours. Instead of raising a fuss that will cause her to react immaturely, I just clean it and move on. I had a counselor tell me once that I am God in our relationship. How can anyone have passion for God? The dominate stuff does not work either. She is uncomfortable with it. She is uncomfortable with me on an intimate level, whether it be emotionally or physically. On rare occasions she will pop out of this for a day but then it will return. Example of this is less than a week ago I was leaving. She was so affectionate, 2 nights of wonderful lovemaking. Then the bonding goes away, then the affection goes away, and we are back to the last 3 years. I feel that we are in the stage in between. We are past the last episode but not experiencing a healthy marriage yet. I don't think that there is anything there anymore between her and this guy. I also don't think that she has any deep feelings for him. I do think though that it did feel good for her. We laid in bed this morning just talking, holding each other, and talking. She has a hard time understanding herself. She doesn't do a lot of self-analysis, nor can she step outside of herself and see herself objectively. So, our conversations end up a little one-sided. We are communicating better than we have in a long time though. I believe that she wants to make this work, but like me is at a loss. Does this analogy work? If I were overweight and over the course of 5 years let myself get that way, I cannot expect to be healthy again in a week. It would mean I would have to make changes to my lifestyle and work on it, and then over time I would go back to my ideal weight. The situation we are in has to be like this. I don't think now that I can expect us to go through this and magically We both just feel better. Tell me about passion in marriage. What are real expectations for this? Not talking about the honeymoon phase either, but over the long haul. She does not feel comfortable with me. She has some image of what she is supposed to be as a wife or something, yet it is a mold that she does not fit into. She tells me she is not that kind of woman. This morning when we were talking, she told me that she is not very adventurous. I had to remind her that have a 2-week emotional affair with a guy is very adventurous, and that we could also have that kind of adventure together. Again, how does she unlock this feeling that she cannot do this or be like this around me? We do have conflict, but I also choose when to have these battles. She is a passive, aggressive person, a difficult personality to deal with. I have to choose when to have these battles and when to let stuff slide. I have learned to accept some things the way they are and some I have not. When we battle, we battle. She is a hard cookie to break. This I don't consider weak on my side, but there is some conflict avoidance. As far as the cultural thing, yes, there is a difference. I am not Latin though. I have lived in her country long enough to be able to emulate some of that, but acting out the whole machismo role would be me acting to be someone that I am not. She does want to have the chase though. I am beginning to see this. Anytime I have talked about leaving or having a girlfriend, or anything along these lines, she perks up and the passion turns on. When I am comfortable with that, it seems to fade away. Do I have to play games for the rest of my marriage? Looking back when I was younger, I did look around. I was more aware of my surroundings, the women. As I got older, I was able to squash that out of me, so to speak. I came to a realization one day that if I was able to focus all of the energy that I used chasing tail into something a little more positive, that I'd be even more successful as a person. That is kind of the mind frame that got me here. I love my wife and am very content with her. I don't look around anymore and don't really care to. I like what I have, or had. So, I will give her something to think about. Days later, well, she is still contacting this guy, and a couple others as well. She gave me access to her phone records but picked up a prepaid phone, I'd guess. I left a voice recorder at home and finally got her talking about it to a friend. My wife has decided that she wants to experience going out at night and not being committed anymore. My hope was to save the marriage, but she stated in counseling yesterday that she does not want to do this anymore. I have given her a lot of space emotionally through this. Looking back, I will be able to truly say that I have tried everything. She is a loving mother but cannot handle any type of responsibility. She will not be able to consistently care for the children. She has a past history of consistently forgetting to give them medicine, getting them to school late. She does not cook. Kids eat cereal and chocolate milk, and so on. I would never want to take the kids from her, but I definitely want to keep them under my wing. At the moment I have my poker face on. I am not going to do anything until I have a clear plan. A week later, an update here. We are still together, in counseling, and she is giving it 100%. There is that intuition thing that I follow as well, and we are trying to go forward. So, guys, is it possible to recover out of this? For her to get that feeling back and for me to get through the pain? Can we come out better on the other side? I believe that she is committed. We have turned a corner in this. It seems that it is much easier for her to move past the past than what it is for me. We are both trying hard. There has been more affection in the past 2 days than in the past year of our marriage. I think we have both realized what we have taken for granted in the past. I am still on a roller coaster of emotions, but I think I see at least a candle at the end of the tunnel. Weeks later, anyhow, I am up and down like crazy. I am having a very difficult time trusting my wife. Caught her in a little lie as well last night about money. Not important, but still a lie is a lie and really put me over the edge emotionally. So, do these feelings go away? We are in counseling and working forward. For the most part, we are doing much better. It is hard to gauge the situation because I get so caught up in my emotions. I have never been controlled by emotions before like I am now. It is hard for me to judge where she is at as well, because the only way for me to do this is to compare her to how I would be in her shoes, and it is very different. We are different people. It has to be easier to be the cheater coming back than the one cheated on trying again. I am trying. I want the marriage to go forward, but there are things that I am uncomfortable with, and I hope that either I can change or they can change. Have to admit there are sometimes I just want to give up. Give her whatever she wants. Avoid all conflict and move on in my life. Our marriage has been up and down for a long time. I don't want history to repeat itself over again. This was the first time that it went this far, but who knows what the future holds. She says she fell out of love with me. So, I am battling to win her heart back, keep my head sane, and to do my part in making our marriage what it should be. Right now, it is not there, and I feel alone. Yesterday, she is going out to take some stuff back to the store and then to get her hair done at 1:30. She told me she had a hair appointment. Long story short, the day just kept not making sense. Intuition kicked in. I made a call to the salon she was going to, and they are close on Sundays. 4 hours later I find out she is at the mall with a friend. The whole trip was supposed to take 2 hours and she was gone for 5 to 6. Now my intuition also tells me that she was not up to anything except that she just wanted to be out at the mall. For some reason though, she felt that she had to lie. My wife has always had a problem with lying. So, it is hard for me to regain trust, and it is hard for me to keep my head in the right place all while this is going on. We talked about it last night and she goes on telling me that I am suffocating her. Always checking up on her. Sad part is if she told me she wanted to go out all day with a couple friends to the mall or whatever, I would have no problem with that. I told her that before she lied and again after I confronted her. So, I have the doubt in my head, why did she feel the need to lie? She also tried changing her story a bunch to make it my fault. In the end she concludes that her hair appointment was actually at the mall. That she made it in the morning. Looking at her cell phone record, she never made any appointments in the morning. Another lie, I never brought that to her attention. On a positive note, she is trying in a lot of areas to make our situation better. But this kind of stuff definitely does not help. Almost a year later, last April found a Facebook conversation with another guy where they were talking about meeting up at his place. More fireworks, another separation, and we get back together. Finally, she comes clean about the first affair and we begin to be able to open up to each other. While there is a lot of emotional sludge built up, we start working through it. The marriage takes a turn for the better and we seem closer than we have ever been. Bonding is great and plentiful. We are spending quality time together, etc. One thing, I just cannot seem to let it go. I don't trust her. She wants her space. I don't have passwords for her Facebook. She would freak out if I ever looked at her phone. This was the only way I caught her before. I still look from time to time and haven't seen anything but that need of hers and my need to know do not work. I figured that over time that my insecurity would dilute itself and I would get over it. It does, but then it comes back. The 1 to 2 weeks I have been miserable. I cannot shake this feeling of thinking she is up to something. Before the initial affair, I was never jealous. I would have sent my wife to an island of men for a month and not worried about her. Now I doubt her very essence at times. At home I pay the bills, she holds a job and doesn't help with anything. We have a girl that cooks and cleans so my wife doesn't have to hardly lift a finger around here. She is focused on her life and her things, selfish, yes, tolerable, most of the time. The second message wasn't the same guy. I did go to see an attorney. We separated and then one day were able to have a heart-to-heart. She felt no pressure to lie anymore and that was the first step back. It was good to hear truth even though the truth wasn't what you would want to hear. Part of me feels paranoid, but it was these feelings that led me to discover things were happening the first time. I believe that everyone can make a mistake and our marriage was no exception. Our story is very abnormal on how we initially met. We had a hard beginning and got off to the wrong start. I think that it takes more strength to try and work something like this out versus bailing out right away, but one can only endure so much. If it was salvageable, it was worth it to my kids to keep our family together, and that is what I have been trying to do. The flip side is that I don't want my kids to see their parents miserable just because they tried to stay together and use that model to get into the same type of relationships and marriages. She is a very dependent person. She has a hard time getting things done on her own, partly because she is not very responsible, partly because it is just who she is. To compensate for this, I think she tries to be emotionally independent, at least make herself feel that way. She is emotionally dependent too, but at the same time can be very cold and hurtful just to prove to herself that she doesn't need me. She has always hated any type of pressure like looking at her phone, emails, and her purse. Not necessarily because she is hiding anything, but I don't probably go back to strict parents or something. I've always respected that space, however now it leaves me to wonder. I did do GPS, keyloggers, voice-activated recorders, etc. Doing that crap can drive you crazier than not. That is how I found things out the first time, but I just don't have the desire. The whole thing from start to finish is very painful. I never imagined. I try to use logic to find different ways to look at it, different perspectives, to hopefully be able to step out of the emotional storms, but it is not that easy. Other times I start figuring out a budget and what apartment I want to move into, finally divorce and just put it behind me. Not sure though that would really fix it either. Comments. There's your biggest mistake. Turn this around now so that she has to start investing in you and the family, literally, figuratively, and financially, so that she has a stake in it. As it is, she is the princess and you are her servants. So, she believes she deserves more than you. Pull her off the pedestal and start evening things out. If she balks, calmly ask her to give the logic of why she should not contribute. Just listen, say what else, say it again and again, until she can't come up with any more reasons. Then calmly say that is not logical and that is not enough. I expect you to start contributing. I'm open to whatever ideas you have, but it will change, or else you'll find yourself living alone and doing it all by yourself anyway. You are not being alpha enough. Women despise betas and cheat on them. My comment, OP realized he can't live like this forever. In the end, I think OP will leave his wife because he finally gave up on this relationship. His gut is telling him he can't live like this. Story 2. My story starts 2 years ago. First, a description of my family. We have been married 9 years and have 2 sons. He is in the military and his current job takes him away for 8 months out of the year. We have done this for the last 4 years with another 4 ahead of us. 2 years ago, I discovered my husband having an affair. I called him when he was with her and he admitted it. Once he returned back from his trip we talked and he went to see a therapist with me a few times. I figured that I had a handle on his infidelity. But really it manifested me into a suspicious wife. So, for the last 2 years, I checked his email and phone as he let me at first to reassure me. Then it changed and he started talking outside, deleting things on his phone etc. he said because he didn't want to argue. Now I kept a journal and recently went back and read it and I shocked myself. I was acting just like he was accusing me but I couldn't see it. He recently returned from yet another trip and I started in again. But this time I had chat records of him and a co-worker. He maintains they are just friends and that he can talk to her. He was pursuing her and even kissed her but wouldn't admit it to me. He got so angry when I asked him to please stop talking to her so that we can figure this out that her kind of chose her over his family. Anyway, 2 weeks have passed and we saw the therapist yesterday as a couple. Separation was brought up because that is all he keeps talking about. So I was forced into accepting it. We have already spent so much time apart. Honestly, is there some grounds on which this will work out towards bringing our family together or a coward's way of leaving? Sorry it is so long. I would appreciate honest answers from men who have cheated on their wives, stopped and then found a friend that they were constantly thinking about. Am I being naive? A week later, we went to MC and he only wanted to talk about separation. So as soon as it was over, he packed some things and left. I started the 180 and didn't make myself available when he called. Only the kids. I have gone through most of the emotions. Pain, loneliness, anger, frustration, numbness. I am back at anger today. He took us all to lunch yesterday, but it was uncomfortable. He told me he was leaving for a week. He told me that he would call once he arrives to his location, military trip, and would like to talk. We haven't talked about anything but the kids since he moved out. I told him if he just wanted to talk, I was okay with that. But if it was about a life-changing decision it would have to wait until he returned and we could sit down. Of course, I got the "you really think I would tell you over the phone?" Yes, I do. You are avoiding your responsibilities now, so I don't trust anything that you say. So anyway, no call, no text, no nothing. Right before he left, he hugged me and said I'm sorry. I slipped up and out of habit said I love you. No response from him. I am tired of waiting and I know it hasn't been long enough. 2 weeks physical separation. But he can't even tell me how long. He wants to try this separation. I am getting impatient and I am getting angry and just about ready to file for legal separation and leave with the kids. We are overseas now. I know you aren't supposed to make decisions this early, but how do I talk myself out of reacting too quickly? He went outside the marriage, but right now I don't feel he is calling all the plays. I am home with the kids while he is gone. He has only been home 30 days total this year. So, I am not sure what a physical separation is supposed to do, unless he is making the E or P anyway. Since I was ramrodded into this separation, I asked him how long. I explained I need a timetable, 2 weeks, 2 months. So, I suggested 2 weeks and then we reevaluate then for more time. But we have to talk about something. He says I don't know how long. We had recurring MC appointments, but with the situation here, he had to leave and therefore couldn't make the appointment this week. He says he wants to continue to see the therapist with me. His actions don't match his words. I read somewhere that don't believe anything you hear and 50% of what you see. I am sticking with that since this is still a fresh wound. I have booked a retreat for just myself once he returns from another trip in a few weeks. I was trying my best to not make any rash decisions until after I return. My problem is that I try to figure out what everything means instead of just letting it go. I know things are too emotional right now for clear thoughts. I am not able to up and leave before he returns. Our kids' passports had to be renewed and only he can pick them up, so I am kind of stuck until the end of this month when they should be returned from the embassy. In the beginning I threatened leaving with the boys after he threw out divorce. But he didn't like that. I did start the 180 and it has worked a little. I woke up this morning to 7 text messages from him. Very unusual for this time we have been apart. I usually one gets 2 a week. I will continue with the 180 until I don't see any other changes. We haven't spoken at all about what has happened, not even in the first MC session. I started the 180 and didn't pursue or call or anything. He barely called to talk to the kids, and when he did, it was a 2 minutes call with the "I'll call you back later" that doesn't come. He started to text last week, short at first, then a little longer. The other night it was a good 20 to 30 minutes. Very nice talk about nothing really. He brought up that he almost sent me a dirty pic but was so drunk he fell asleep. He ended the conv with "I'll call you and the boys tomorrow to check up on you. We have been locked down 2 days for weather." He called and talked to the oldest for 2 minutes tops and said he would call him back and didn't. I sent him an email saying that I didn't quite get it. You told your son you would call him back and didn't. I hope you realize that whatever you're doing is now more important than your kids. I am truly speechless. And sent it. He replied, "Okay, they can call too." He wanted the separation. Do I now start making it a point to call or not? I don't want it to backfire. So, I am about to send an email saying, since we have not had any opportunity to talk since you moved out. I would like you to tell me a time that works with your schedule. Let me know when you're available. I can arrange for the boys to be watched. We haven't spoke of but he knows that I want to. He said he doesn't want a divorce but is in the I just don't know stage. 2 weeks later, my H came home, said divorce, right. He moved out and left me with the kids. Okay, wanted physical separation. Okay, whatever. So, he is sitting on the fence now, for 5 weeks, so I went and sought legal advice. He got mad. I combed the internet downloading forms for child custody, division of assets, debts and a visitation schedule. I don't want the divorce, but why won't he do anything towards ending it? We don't speak unless it is about the kids. If I have something to say, I send a simple email, like, please pick up the kids at 2 and I will return by 6. So why am I doing all the work? I am moving forward. I am just tired of carrying the load. I hope he wakes up with such regret one day. Few weeks later, I am looking for how long your anger lasted towards your cheating spouse. Whether you are separated, considering or going through a divorce now, my anger is eating me up and I am not sure how to move forward, so I'm just kind of looking to see if I am where I'm supposed to be in consideration of time. I started selling my things because I can buy new ones once I relocate. It finally clicked for me that they were just items with memories attached. Not all good ones and not all bad. So, it hurt to let them go but felt better too. I just don't know how to funnel this anger away. I know this is a process and you must go through each stage. I am just trying to see how long everyone's path took. I know we all have different twists, but just curious. My comment as you guys struggle with dealing with anger, how you overcome it. And for those who ask for more stories from the female perspective, check out my other videos. I have posted a lot in the past. And I will see